Hey guys, AscendantGod here with Raid Shadow Legends, covering the new champions here in patch 1.13. There's 6 of them in total, so we're going to be taking a look at all of them today, as well as their viability in the end game. So to start here, we have Frozen Banshee. She is an undead, she's a rare, seems to be built for the clan boss. She has an aura here that increases all accuracy in all battles by 35. Not too bad for a rare, nothing that spectacular either though. Her A3 here has the new poison sensitivity debuff, so the chances to apply it increase by 10% for each debuff on the target. That isn't that great. It's going to be unreliable, especially on auto attack on fights. So at any given time, she can have anywhere from only a 10% chance to apply this up to a 100% chance if there's 9 debuffs already on the clan boss. But if the boss is full, it won't even apply this. So it's an interesting ability, but it's going to be unreliable, which is not particularly surprising for a rare. But as far as for endgame, nothing that great. Her A2 here fills turn meters of all allies by 2% for each debuff on the target that she hits. Could be useful in speed-based compositions for the clan boss, but again, obviously not good for Ultra Nightmare. It can throw off your counterattack rotations by manipulating the turn meter, so it makes her unviable for the end game, unless you're using a speed composition for Ultra Nightmare, which is a very rare find these days. Alright, and then her A1 has a chance to apply poisons on the target, but only if they have the poison sensitivity debuff on them. So again, overall, she's a very unreliable clan boss champion that might increase your damage a lot or might miss with her A3 and do very little, because the main thing that would increase the damage overall is this poison sensitivity increase depending on how many poisons you have to apply on the boss. So anyway, if you're a new player, she might be okay as far as a temporary champion for you, but for endgame, no, don't go investing into her. She's mainly just for food. She's not going to be anything that great for you for the long term. Next in line here, we have Grave Chill Killer. All right, she's another Undead Hordes champion, another rare. Her A3 here applies poisons, but it can end up applying only 2.5% poisons if the target doesn't have a poison sensitivity debuff on them. So this champion needs to be paired with somebody who does have the poison sensitivity debuff to work efficiently. And her A2, it needs a poison on the target in order to apply the ideal defense down buff here, will debuff, I should say, the 60% one. Otherwise, she only applies a 30%. So you need a poison for that. So her A1 here has a chance to apply a poison, so ideally you'd most likely want, poisons up on whatever target. Most likely, again, since this is going to be a clan boss champion as well, you'd want the poisons up so then she can apply the defense down on the boss. But it's, only for 2 turns, and it's going to be a 3-turn cooldown at best, so she's not going to be a reliable defense down champion. Should be like a backup one. She has a chance to put a poison up here, but it's a 50% chance to place one. Nothing that great. I mean, again, this is, another clan boss champion, but not very good. Not one that you really want to invest too much into unless you're really hard up for a clan boss champion. All right. Ursine IR Hide. Now we're getting into an epic here. So he's a skinwalker and seems designed for arena. Alright, he's got a passive here that can decrease a target's turn meter each time they're hit by this champion. Also has a chance to put their skills on cooldown if the target has a decreased crit rate debuff. So this guy seems to be set up to work paired with a decreased crit rate debuffer. He seems to work, with one of those that where you decrease the crit rate first initially, have whoever has the decreased crit rate debuff apply that, and then this champion would attack next to have a chance to put the skills on cooldown. All right, so but I mean, if you're not faster than the enemy, this may not end up being that useful because they may already have used their strongest cooldown. So it's kind of a situational thing where if you're faster than the enemy, it could be real useful. If you're not faster than them, not so much. All right. So his A3 here as a decrease attack debuff with an AoE attack could be useful depending on how hard he hits and who you're up against. If you're up against a bunch of defense or hit point based champions in arena, not going to be that great. But, you know, if you're up against, you know, and a lot of attack-based champions in Arena could come in really handy, especially if it does decent damage with that AoE attack. All right. Now, his A2 here, it can decrease an enemy's turn meter. Does it even more so if they are under a decrease attack debuff. So hopefully he's going to be using his A3 first on auto attacks and then this ability. So he takes advantage of applying the decrease attack debuff first from the A3 to trigger this extra ability here of decreasing the turn meters even more. So, but, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. I don't know anybody that has him yet because they are pretty brand new. You know, so again, we'll have to see what order these go in. If anything, you could use these abilities on manual to have an increased chance of decreasing turn meters here. And then his A1, 35% chance of increasing cooldown of a target's skills. You know, this could be hit or miss depending on if it actually triggers number one, which is at max skills would be a 50% chance. And so that's pretty decent chance, but also depends on what skill he puts on cooldown. So overall, he seems like an okay choice for Arena. Definitely not a platinum tier champion here, but possibly okay for people working their way up. I wouldn't invest too much into this guy because, I mean, you'll most assuredly replace him eventually, but he's okay. Ursine Skullcrusher here. This guy seems to be another arena-based champion. He seems to be intended to be paired with Ursine IR Hide since the skills would work in conjunction with one another. Now, he has an aura that increases ally hit points in all battle by 25%. I'm not a huge fan of hit point auras, but if you're hard up for it in Faction Wars, maybe that would be useful. If you don't have any other options in Faction Wars, choices are limited. His passive here decreases all critical damage received by all allies by 15%. So, I mean, definitely, obviously, another arena-based champion here. His turn meter also gets filled by 5% whenever an enemy lands a normal, strong, or weak hit. So, you know, since in the arena, most of the hits you're going to be getting from the enemies that do the most damage are going to be critical, this is going to be a pretty reliable, you know, damage reduction there. All right, and then his A2 seems to be built to work with Ursine IR Hide, like I said, because this is that decreased crit rate for an AoE attack that he could put on all enemies. So tying into the previous Ursine guy, this guy goes first. He does the decreased crit rate debuff, and then the you know, the Ursine IR Hide will have the ability to put the enemy skills on cooldown from his passive ability that we saw previously. So these guys are definitely designed to work with one another here. So if you have both of them, you know, good. Is A1 here, chance to put a block cooldown skills debuff on the target. It's a very powerful ability, but even at max skills, it's only a 30% chance to apply it, so it's not a particularly amazing odds there. So overall, this is another guy that could be built for Arena. Definitely not platinum tier, I should say. Good for you know, those working their way up. I mean, again, another one I wouldn't invest too heavily into, but there's much better options that you could get. All right. A Bannerlord. All right, don't see many useful Bannerlords. This one actually seems fairly useful. All right, so it's Bannerlord called Stag Knight. He's an epic-based champion. All right, now he's the first one here that seems like he actually might be endgame viable. He seems built for Arena. All right, his passive here, I'm not too sure about. I mean, it's a chance to give a random ally a 50% increased accuracy buff if one of the debuffs are resisted by an enemy. It's an interesting concept, but I mean, if one of their debuffs are resisted by the enemy, I mean, it's not going to come in too useful in most arena teams, since most arena fights are usually pretty short. I mean, maybe for a longer battle where you don't have to worry about your accuracy as much, but you want debuffs getting placed, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's going to be too useful with most compositions, but maybe for specific compositions it could come in useful. His A2 here, though, this is the useful ability. At max skills, it has a 95% chance to place both a defense down and an attack down with an AoE attack on all enemies. I mean, a 95% chance on an epic for all of that. That is huge. I mean, that's a really strong ability, especially for an epic champion to do both of those in one attack, and it does damage. I mean, in my opinion, that's better than Tomb Lord. Tomb Lord does these, but he doesn't do damage with it. You know, so yeah, that's really nice ability there. His A1 here, chance to place a decreased speed on an enemy. Seems, again, you know, mainly built for Arena, but it could be useful in other areas as well. I'm interested to see how his A2 is going to scale, but I mean, overall, for an epic champion, definitely not bad at all. I'd say he'd be worth investing into for most players. Some vets who don't have champions like, say, Dracomorph, Tomb Lord, Ceres, or Tyrell would probably find him really useful. Let me get something off of my screen there. Sorry. And, but yeah, overall, like, again, if you don't have those champions, he could be really useful. He could be useful in the dungeons as well, definitely with both the defense down and attack down that comes up. I'm not covering the dungeon viability too much in this video because in the dungeons you have so many different options once you get enough gear and you get a good champion roster. So it's more so about like who's viable for arena, who's viable for clan boss. Those are the ones that are harder to really work your way up and you have more limited options. So that's why I'm trying to cover those. The only exception with the dungeons is Spider 20, but if you're struggling with Spider 20, definitely check out my other video on my channel that covers the types of compositions that can handle Spider 20. But for arena, this guy here, Stag Knight, definitely a decent choice for sure. All right. And then last in line here, Whirlim Frost King. All right. This guy here seems built for the arena, even has an arena aura. He's somebody that you can earn through the battle pass if you have the gold battle pass. And I mean, he is a solid champion. Not God tier, but he's really solid. He has an aura that increases ally defense in the arena by 30%. It's modest. I've seen better, but it's modest. And his A3 places a 25% strengthen and a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now, this strengthen ability is one of the new ones. It's the first time that we've actually seen it here. All right, and what the strengthen does, for those of you who don't know yet, it'll reduce the damage all your allies take by 25%. And then on top of that, though, with this ability here, he's also doing that 60% increased defense buff on all your allies for 2 turns as well. All right, so I mean, this is going to make it a lot harder to take down your allies, assuming the enemy doesn't have a buff removal or a buff blocking ability in their composition to use against you. All right, so, but it would be a great defense or resistance team composition kind of build for long-term survival in the arena, assuming they can't remove those buffs off of you. And his A2 is, again, one that is definitely built for arena. Chance to decrease crit damage from all enemies by 30%, and Ascended here, it also puts a 30% increased crit damage buff on all of your allies. So this is another ability that seems really powerful for arena, again, depending on who you're up against and if they have debuff protection. And then his A1 here, again, interesting ability, a chance to freeze an enemy at max skills 50%, which is really, that's a pretty good chance on an A1. And then plus, if it does freeze the enemy, it then puts a perfect veil on your ally with the lowest hit points at that point. All right, so I mean, that is a pretty interesting ability to try to help keep one of your allies alive. It could be hit or miss depending on if the enemy has a lot of AoE attacks, but if they have single target attacks, they're not going to be able to target that ally. That's pretty useful. So, I mean, definitely an interesting ability there, because the freeze alone would be pretty nice, but the perfect veil on top of that, it's interesting. And so overall, with the right composition, he could definitely be a solid choice for the arena. I could definitely see this guy in Platinum, and I'm sure he will be there in the days and weeks to come. The big key with him, if you're going to bring him into Platinum, is that you need to make sure that if you are, targeting other players, you're not going after players that have debuff removers, because they're going to destroy Whirlim here. All right. Another thing that you could do to compensate for that, though, is use, like, say, debuff protection. That could come in really useful if you have champions with that. So then that way, you could basically protect your buffs on your allies, and then he could buff them up, So a lot of this, how viable Whirlim could be, would depend on your composition and what you can do to make sure that he's going to get a chance to use those buffs and they're not going to get removed. All right. I mean, this guy isn't God tier, but he's definitely somebody powerful to go up against in arena. His biggest issue would be getting pitted up against enemies with buff removals again. So, because most of what he does is buffing up your allies and putting buffs on them. So anyway, though, that covers all the new champions here and, what areas of the game that they're all good for. Still no more counterattack champions. I mean, they're again getting watered down by 6 more champions in the champion pool with no more counterattack champions yet, but that's a topic for another episode. So If you're not subscribed here to my channel yet, guys, make sure to subscribe to my channel below. I'm going to be covering the Battle Pass in the days to come, so we'll take a look at the rewards there, because like I said, Whirlim is one of the rewards in the Gold Battle Pass, so something you might want to consider if you really need another arena champion trying to work your way up into Platinum, or you feel like he'd be a good replacement for one of your champions that are already in a Platinum composition. All right. So anyway, but yeah, I'm going to be touching soon on the Battle Pass and everything, looking at the 8-week time frame we have to complete all of it, looking at, you know, other aspects of this patch as well. So again, definitely stay tuned for my videos in the days to come, guys. And, you know, for now, if you see these new champions, you know, and you run into them or you have them and you test them out, you know, definitely let us know in the the comments below. Let us know how it's working out for you. But anyway, that's all that I have for now, guys. So that's it for now. And good luck in this patch. Hope it's treating you well. And then I will catch you guys in the next episode. So until then.